Bettina, you are again still, of course, of Siemens Advanta. Do I pronounce it right? Siemens Advanta?
Yeah, that's correct.
Is it Siemens Advanta?
Exactly.
Exactly that. Okay, so you're both working for Siemens Advanta. You're going to talk about digital transformation, like Peter said in the panel, the buzzword of the century, and you're going to talk about the Siemens story. You're responsible for communication, marketing, sales support at Siemens, and you brought not just your friend, but your friend has a name, Juergen. And I have to say this, and this is nothing, not to say I mean this in the best possible way, so please don't be offended. But you have a great last name.
Thanks.
There you go, because his name is Juergen Grabenhofer. Did I pronounce it right?
Yes.
If Siemens makes this uber cool Arnold Schwarzenegger like robot, I think you should.
Yeah, and you know, you're taking my joke, but that's a very typical Styrian name. So I'm actually from the area where Arnold is from. And
are you serious?
Double names, yes, Grabenhofer, Schwarzenegger. That's very, very typical of Austria.
Nice. Because I was thinking, like, if you ever make that robot, you should call it the Grabenhofer 3000.
Yeah, but that's...
No, because I can imagine people walk, and this is just my personal fantasy, and Bettina's like, what the hell are we talking about? But for me, if I walk in the future and I see a Siemens robot and they say, like, what is this great machine? And you can say, it's the Grabenhofer 2000. It's more advanced, more powerful. Then you'll be like, amazing, through the roof. Anyway. You are a consultant partner at Siemens Advanta from the same region as Schwarzenegger, which is you're immediately getting points from the people in the chat.
Experience. I won't rip off my shirt and show my mouth. I hope that's okay. I can't compete here. Yeah.
Anything is possible in Open Slava. If Bettina can wear glasses, you can pull off your shirt. Your 10 years experience, your Internet of Things, digitalization is your specialty, and they say you are a strategist by heart. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, put your emoji claps together for Transformation, the Siemens story by Bettina Rotermund and Juergen Grabenhofer. Take it away.
Great, thanks a lot. So I will try now the first challenge, which is how to share. We are managing. So, Bettina, you can start talking.
I can start talking. Oh, that's nice.
Ignore me. Just ignore me.
What we want to, and I think we can skip the first slide because Monik just gave us such a beautiful introduction, and thanks for having us. So you might want to ask, so what is Siemens telling us about digital transformation? And actually, this is a personal story to everybody that works at Siemens, because we moved from this very deep, heavy industry giant into a digital powerhouse and a technology company. And of course, that comes with a lot of change, and that comes with a lot of frictions and transformation. And we thought it is valuable to share what we went through and how we did that, because right now, in this Corona crisis, a lot of companies are standing in front of the same story and saying, okay, I know I need to do something. I should transform and I should embrace digitalization, but actually I have not the slightest clue how I should do that and what to look for. And in the panel discussion, I used this analogy of, this is definitely not you go into the app store, download an app and press self-install, and then your digital transformation journey is done. So this is far more complex, and there's a lot of roadblocks and challenges you should be aware of. And this is a little bit what Juergen and me want to guide you through today. So questions anytime. I hope our Monik will help us when sorting them out through the chat. And then the stage now is yours, Juergen. Tell us more about this thing.
Yes, so digital transformation. It was very funny. I had lunch today with an old friend who is also head of an IoT business at a large company. And we started with that we had totally different explanations of what it is, just to find out after 5 minutes of explaining that we are totally aligned. Yeah, so it is a buzzword that you can approach from several directions, but I would like to start with the why. I mean, why are we now talking about digitalization and digital transformation when it's actually something that's pretty old. I mean, people were already talking about it when I left university, and that's some time ago. That was still there in the last millennium. And then the reason is that the shift is, or then the new aspect is that it's now reaching the traditional businesses. So what we have seen so far is either very much related to business to consumer, because that's easy. You have your smartwatch or your iPhone, and you have apps that are at the end either monitoring something on your body or maybe monitoring where you are. Or it has been in businesses very much on generic topics like purchasing, procurement, something that's not related to the physical world, because the physical world in an industry, and it doesn't matter whether it's manufacturing or it's a hospital or it's a power plant, it's super complex. But technology has reached a maturity that it is now there, and we have to deal with it. And when you look at these numbers, they are basically just kind of confirming the message that it is there, and that somehow businesses like Siemens, who have a long heritage in producing physical stuff, from turbines to trains to MRTs or whatever, now have to change and embrace the change in order to stay competitive.
Or in order to stay alive. When we look at the bottom left, 50% of the Fortune 500 companies have disappeared since 2000.
Yes.
And if we look into the Fortune 50, I think like more than half of it already is a platform-based business. So that seems to be a real threat to the incumbents and the traditional businesses like Siemens is. Yeah. And
it is
going through the transformation, it's like, we have been threatened ourselves, and that's also a little bit our story, that we have not been always on place 13 in the transformation ranking of 2019. So tell us a little bit more about that one, Juergen.
Exactly. So the reason I brought this up because, of course, I mean, as Siemens employee, I am proud that we are number 13 and the highest ranking manufacturing company. But there's a reason behind that. And there is also a lot of learning and experience and failure behind that. It's not a journey that started yesterday and we woke up and said, let's do it, and then we got a good ranking. But actually, it's something that started, and I was part of that actually. That started when about 15 years ago, or even before. So when Siemens was still doing telecommunications, and I can remember I joined Siemens the first time 2001, and I joined telecoms business, and people at that time, it was all about telephony. I mean, and real, not mobile, but the stuff you have at home. And they could not imagine that would ever go away, with a lot of arguments that ultimately, looking backwards, didn't make any sense. But it was inconceivable that this would disappear. And when you see now this kind of news, so in 2004, it was a growth story, and in 2006, it was an exit story. You can see how fast it went. And it's not something that you can say, we divested, but it was, I mean, for example, we gave away the founding patents of Siemens with this transaction. So
that's really, I would say it's disruptive, wasn't it?
Yes. And what it happened was that it was a huge wake-up call. It was really something where the Siemens management, and I still can see it in discussions with top management, it's like, we must make sure that it never happens again, that we get so surprised by a development that if we had been careful, it would have been obvious, or if we had been less complacent. And so what happened was that in 2007, Siemens started its digitalization journey. And it's not a road that it's just straight. It's not like, we made a plan and we executed. But then, as you can see, it's an evolution in various phases, also reacting to the technologies and that emerged along the way. And it started with basically focus on verticals, where it's really about, we are an automation player, we automate factories, for example, and let's look at how can we enrich that with software.
Exactly. And Juergen, just because we go here into detail, let's look, we're talking about our own digital journey and transformation journey. So I think we have a poll prepared for the audience, where the majority of the audience says when it comes to digitalization and digital transformation, which is a build-up. And I wonder whether our friends in the back can bring up this poll. Does that work?
We'll do a quick check. Let me check the polls for you because you're probably not seeing it.
I hope we have more than 3 participants. Otherwise,
it's on par.
We have 270
and illegal. I think it would violate data protection.
We're getting there. So, yeah, where do you think you stand on the digital journey? It's up. The poll is up.
Cool.
So if people are watching right now, we have 270 people in the Hopin platform.
Okay.
So go to the polls. And do you want the answer right now, or do you want it further down your presentation?
Well, I think we could do this after this slide, yeah? So when we move on, so people have a little bit of time to think of where they stand.
All right.
So Juergen, we started with after this wake-up call, yeah? So we were sitting down as Siemens and thinking, okay, how could we prevent this from ever happening again? And so we started a quite comprehensive, long and intense journey. So what was that all about? You hear about this automation, electrification, automation, digitalization. So what is it? What needed to be done?
Yeah, I think what needed to be done was that at that time Siemens was a lot about the hardware. Yeah, it was motors, drives, yes, also electronics, but at the end the hardware. And of course, there's always a digital component, but it was just part of the product. And you can summarize this evolution as a journey away, following the value. So when you look at IoT and you come at the end, then the value is often in the data that the assets create, in the operations of the plant, and looking at how everything works together, how you can digitize business processes also based on data. And the hardware and the products are a means to an end, that they need to be there, they need to work, they need to function in the same quality as ever. But actually, it's much more about other things that differentiate and that create a value just far or way beyond if you just look at what the product does. And so it started with software. It was then really through a lot of M&A, like now the PLM software, to really become more and more a software company. So, for example, Siemens is among the top 10 software companies worldwide. No one knows because we are not advertising it that way. But just looking at the number of software engineers and our revenue, it's really huge compared to where it was at that time. And then it was about IoT data. So MindSphere was the move into a call it operating system, so a platform that collects data from all types of assets. For example, that in a city you could connect from the tram to your power plant to the city infrastructure, everything, and start correlating. So as a platform that collects and analyzes and creates value on top of all the assets that at the end Siemens and other players in Siemens Industries provide.
Yeah. And if you say value, so let's hang on here for a second. So sometimes it's hard for people, and also that both of us, when we meet customers, it's a lot the question come up like how to create and then how to capture value. Yeah.
Yes.
So for especially this MindSphere thing, when you're talking about cities, I really think about the city air management tool that gives city officials and city mayors the control over, I know I can change this, and this, and then the air quality immediately gets better. Or I need to change this, and this, and the prediction of the tool that is based on a neural network working on MindSphere is then telling you in 5 weeks, in 1 month, in whatever, 3 months, in 1 year, the air quality will be like this, really consuming huge data chunks. So it's the data that you have. Sometimes it's not even clean data, but the data you have is then creating your value. And I think that was a major step forward to say our operating system helps you to get the gold washed out of your data. And that was really a milestone for Siemens itself, just to think not around the product, but to do a paradigm shift to what do our customers, our clients, society need, and working backwards, how can we then work on that, and also how can we make it successful?
Exactly, and I think one of the learnings, again, it was never a straight road, was that in the first step, and I was the project manager from Siemens Advanta consulting on that project, it was still technology, and it was a lot about how do you sell this and how what's different and how do you approach customers. But at some point it became very clear that it's not about technology, it's about the business case, it's about what does a technology like that or any other technology that's IoT related or digital, what does it do to your company? Yeah, it changes everything. Yeah, a tool that you do not use also to change something, to improve your processes, to become more efficient, or to improve your offering, at the end is just an expensive tool. Yeah? And that's why the latest step is with the creation of Siemens Advanta, that it's about the services around the offering, it's about the consulting, it's about the customization of technology to fit specific customer needs. It's about prototyping, it's about supporting with competence, data scientists. It's not about the technology anymore.
Yeah, so it's really like, I would say it's in helping customers envisioning their digital future and unlocking this digital future with the ecosystem that we provide. It's really like we have a lot of customers that stand in front of this thing and said, okay, what should be my first step? But then also, what is my ultimate goal? So that is something that we as Siemens had to go through. So we had to envision our own future, and that also comes with, okay, wait, maybe we need to stop something. And I think that was also a very hard thing to say, okay, we need to move out of this cradle and we need to, gear ourselves up and maybe crawl, walk, run, and eventually fly. And this journey is still ongoing. So we are far from being there. And when talking about this journey, maybe Juergen, guide us a little bit through. I assume there will be obstacles and challenges.
Exactly, and I said that the obvious challenges is always either I want to change or improve my offering. So that's then the new app that goes with the motor or the drive or the train, or I somehow want to become more efficient. I want to automate my factory or whatever it is. And that's at the end the impact if you do it right. But actually, if you just try to do that using your existing mechanisms, like you use your existing PLM organization to develop this service and your existing R&D, or you just give your existing organization this, yes, please become more efficient, experience is that it doesn't work. You spend 1 or 2 years with people trying something, other people not agreeing to it, and then you're at the starting point, because actually you need to do it also differently. And this is what we mean by hidden challenges, and they're just a very high level, the 6 top ones, you might say. I mean, I could go into any detail on all of them, but it starts with like, where do you want to go? And you cannot plan it, because it's like we don't even know how technology will look like in 3 years, but you need to at least have an idea what type of company do you want to be, and does any type of solution or technology or what you want fit this vision or not? Otherwise you will just do one proof of concept after the other and spend a lot of money.
Cool. So looking at the time, Juergen, so when talking about that one, we saw this ladder where we step from the one stage to the other, and I think that what we always apply and see applying at customers is a real framework. So does not mean that you have to do everything at once, but you should know what kind of areas you should tap into. I don't know whether you have that slide with you today. But that would be just showing and not going into details, but showing people. No. So this is something that you should have a look at, because it's real. It can be a real complex. And that is usually the framework that we apply, sorting things out, clearing the sky, making sure that people understand. As I said, this is nothing like an app you download from an app store, press self-install, but this really requires a good due diligence to guide our customers through. And that has been the way we have gone through our digital transformation.
And the way you should read the chart is like this. I think of digital transformation, you throw a stone into the lake and it generates ripples. And at the end, the whole lake it goes through the whole lake.
Yeah.
And it's like this. You can throw a stone in any of these boxes. You can start with procurement. We have done data analytics on procurement, that you basically remove items and become more cost efficient in your purchasing and sort out suppliers. At the end, you might find out that you need new people. You need data analysts. How do you hire them? How do you organize them? How does this fit with your warehousing and logistics? If you throw something in your go-to market, I want now an online shop. How does this fit to your sales process? Who in your organization answers questions from the hotline? And at the end, you again end up, do I need to change my portfolio, simplify it? Do I need to reduce delivery times in order to get the right customer satisfaction and so on? And then you're suddenly in totally other parts of your organization, and you need to look at new technologies. And the first message is, you don't have to do everything at once. But you need to be aware, if you start throwing your stone into your company, it doesn't matter where you throw it, it will at the end start a process that never ends.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any business where it ends. It just goes on, and then if you have gone through once, then you start again, because there are new technologies, new developments, new competitors, new business models, and you start again.
Yeah, and maybe you're hungry,
but you need to be aware.
Yeah, and maybe you're hungry, because it's like in the panel we discussed that also. It's like when you start something and it works, you pick up the next piece, because usually what we also say, it's start small, scale fast, and that means you start with one use case, it's delivering the results that you want, and then you maybe hand over to the next possible use case, or you scale that thing. So I think that's the beauty of this transformation, that you can really look into so many different areas to improve. And that is what we do at Siemens, and especially Siemens Advanta with all our clients. This is an ongoing journey, and yeah, you should do the first step, and you should not rest. That is maybe something as a message as well. So Juergen, are you keen to see the results of the poll?
Yes, absolutely. Can I see it? Do I need to stop my?
No, I think like Marnik will tell us what to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll tell him if you want. If you're not hop in directly, I'll go to the poll. So you asked the question, where do you think you stand on your digital journey? Would be funny now if you said that was not the question.
Yeah, no, this is the question. That's great.
This is the question, and people voted. 9% of the votes went to digitization.
Yeah.
12% went to digitalization.
Yeah.
Make sure I pronounce it right. And then the vast majority of 79% said digital transformation.
Yay! Wow. This is great. This is actually the best results we ever got, because a lot more people usually see themselves in the digitalization. So we start something, but we are not transforming yet. We are kind of evolving out of the stuff that we have. So that's very nice to see. What do you think about that, Juergen?
I think it says more about the audience than about the industry.
Very good. So applause to the audience. And yeah, so we are open for questions, if you have any questions to this one.
Okay, are you also going to do that in poll version, or you're just going to?
No, we're just looking into the chat, so we need you, the master, Marnik, to help us through that. So is there any question coming in from the audience?
All right. So if you're the audience and you're looking at this and you're like, hey, I'm the audience, I have a question, put it in the chat.
Exactly.
We have one of, I hope I pronounce it right, from Puria Jafari. I'm just going to read it to you like with the panel.
Sure.
Probably going to make sure.
Good.
So if you've shifted to customers I can't talk anymore. If you shifted to customer-centric approach, have you transformed from traditional organization management to digital, innovative-oriented one?
I hope, is that the question we had also in the panel, a little bit coming away from the waterfall logic to the agile logic? Is that the question behind, hopefully?
Could be, Poya, if you're hearing this, if you put it in the chat, if that's exactly what you're asking. Because what she's saying, like if you shifted from the customer-centric approach, has your whole organization transformed from a traditional organization with management to a digital, innovative-oriented one?
Yeah, so it's again, this is like this ambidexterity. Yeah, so you would not shift overnight from the one to the other, and you should not do everything you potentially could agile. So as said, accounting and warehousing doing agile might not be the best solution to it. If you start thinking about shifting from a product-centric to a customer-centric logic, this eventually has...
I'm gonna jump real in, not to because you're on a roll. She added, she means more into design thinking.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, that is what it means. Yeah, you need to start from what is the job to be done, as Clay Christensen would say. Yeah. So what do you need to solve as a pain point for your customer, and then you would find the appropriate technology or the appropriate process, etc., and revolve it around the customer, and that has impact for your own setup of your company. Yeah, sure. If you start with gathering feedback from your customer, how would you digest this feedback? How bring you feedback into your R&D business? So that has impact from your CEO to your post office, definitely. And as Juergen said, don't transfer everything at once. Just do it one piece after the other. What is the most important thing to start first with? And then you gradually change everything around it.
All right. And I made a massive mistake, but that's with the questions. It's he. Oh, there you go. Fail.
You were just politically correct.
Okay, so my sincerest apologies here, but like with all the foreign names and stuff. But anyway, great question. I hope you had the answer. Like I said, with everybody, let me know if you had the answer. Bettina gave you the answer to that question. Then we have a new one from Theo. Let's see. What was the biggest challenge and or change in this journey with Siemens?
Oh, Juergen, that's up for you.
Biggest challenge. I mean, there were many challenges. I mean, if you look at, and I give you examples because it's actually a repetitive challenge. So I was the PM for MindSphere, and I was the PM who set up Advanta. So two of these steps I showed, I actually really participated firsthand. And it was always the point that in both steps, the existing organization, or let's say, what was required was not at all in the DNA of the existing organization. And I'm not meaning people. For example, if you do MindSphere IoT, and you say you gather data, and then you start suddenly realizing if you do this in the cloud, then you get tax problems. Your SAP system doesn't work anymore. You need another one. You suddenly start from a traditional sales approach where you meet people to customer success management and a lot of hotline work. It means that instead of selling features, you need to talk about value and business models. And it means that you cannot, and that's at least our philosophy, what you shouldn't do is just, found a new company and say, that's the cool guys, they will do everything, and you are just the old guys. So somehow you need a way to take your organization with you, because that's where your core competence is. That's where your knowledge is. That's where all the relationships are. And this is a process that takes time and effort. And when we did the fourth step, which was into services, it was the same again. You had a service organization in a product company, It's different KPIs. It's different way to approach customer. It's suddenly not even anymore about technology. It's talking to different people, because with consulting, you talk to executives more than you talk, for example, to a procurement department, which would be more in the product side. And again, taking your organization with you, making sure that in Siemens, 360,000 people, I mean, not all of them, but thousands of people develop the skills and the mindset, and that also they shift with this. That was always the biggest challenge, I would say. It's more than anything else.
Agree.
All right, cool. Thank you. I'm looking at the chat. Anything else coming in? People getting their answers. All right, looking at the time, I will have to wrap it up. And Tim, unless you have a final thought or something.
All good.
All good, all good. I hope you had something at the polls, the questions. Thank you so much, Bettina, for the second time, also with the panel again. Thank you for participating very actively. Juergen, thank you. Sorry for taking your jokes. I didn't know you were preparing that, but you're from the same place as Schwarzenegger. Okay. You're my hero for all time, and also probably for the people watching. And if you ever make that robot, let me know.
I will.
Thank you so much for the great presentation. Have a great evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Cheers. Thanks.